So this is basically my understanding of what investing is about. You basically have a high risk investment and then you have a low risk investment. Depending on your financial circumstances, you're either going to take high risks or low risks. And also depending on your resources. So let's say, for example, you have two types of markets. You have your upper class markets and then you have your local area markets. Now, for me, it's a high risk if you have little money or you don't have a lot of money. It's a high risk to invest in your upper class markets. Reason why is because you have to find a broker that's maybe not allocated in your local area, so he's probably somewhere in another province, or he's basically in another country, and they usually give you terms of contract that states something like whenever you invest, you should invest responsibly, because if you lose money, you lose it. Now, for me, that's a high risk, because let's say, for example, if I have like 100,000 rand and I invest it online buying stock, and I basically get a broker sitting in another country. I take that 100,000, invest it in that broker, and basically buy a couple of shares under that broker. The problem with that is if I lose that money, I lose it. It's 100% lost. There's no return of a portion of your investment or something like that. But let's say if you're investing locally, for example, how you would ask me how do you invest local? Let's say, for example, you find people in your local area that's skilled, that either has a qualification or some type of skill. For example, he's a mechanic or he is qualified, went to university or something, studied mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, civil engineering, but he has some type of engineering qualification. What you want to do is you want to invest in that person, or if that person has a business which is a local business run, you want to invest in his business. I would rather take that 100,000 rand. Let's say in an example where someone is a mechanic. Now what you want to do is, if that person wants to rebuild cars, fix them and flip them for profit, what you want to do is, instead of taking that 100,000 rand, which is a lot of money to you as an investor, instead of investing it in a upper class market, I would rather take it and invest it in a lower class market in your local areas. Invest it in someone locally, because at the end of the day, your contract that you are going to set up with a lawyer or between the person that you're investing in is gonna probably state something like, if you fail in the project, all belongings or everything that we bought for you to complete the project will be reclaimed by us as investors. Which means that if you bought like a car, the body of the car for 50,000 rand, you bought an engine of 30,000, and you maybe bought tools or equipment of 20,000 rand, which adds up to 100,000. Now what's gonna happen is that person's gonna try and complete the project. If the person can't complete it, and it's a failure, basically you're gonna reclaim everything that you bought for the project to be completed. So you're gonna reclaim the car, you're gonna reclaim the engine, and you're gonna reclaim the equipment, the tools. Now basically what's going to happen is you can either resell the body, but you can resell the body, the engine and the equipment, but you won't get the exact amount of money that you actually placed on buying those things. So for example, on the body you would get like a 40,000 back, so you would lose 10,000. On the engine you might get a 20,000 back, so you lose a 10,000. On the equipment you might get a 15,000 back, so you lose a 5,000. So at the end of the day you didn't lose a lot of money, and you got a portion back of what you actually invest in that person. So for me that's a lower risk in a local area. It's a low risk investing in a local area if you don't have a lot of money. Now let's say that person did complete the project, and you went and or that person went and he flipped the project. So he invested 100,000, he flipped it, and he made like 100%. So he made like 200,000 rand, and basically from his side he required or from his side what his terms and conditions was to the contract, basically stated something like you as an investor will get 30%, and then he's going to take the 70%, and the project is going to take 6 months. Now what will happen is if that project succeeds and you do flip, or they do flip it for 100k, for 200,000, the investor would basically have a 30,000 rand profit within a duration of 6 months. Now imagine if you invest online and it took 3 years to maybe make a 90,000 profit. Now imagine per year you could have made a 30,000. Like if the investor locally, if I locally invest in someone and I made a 30,000 rand profit as an investor, now I would have made double. So I would have made 180,000 rand in 3 years if I invested locally, and I told that person every 6 months I'm going to invest in you for the next 3 years. Because let's say for example after 3 years that person would be so stable that he won't even ask for investments any longer. So now you have to go find someone new to invest in, and that's how you invest, for me, on a low risk, if you don't have a lot of money. Now you can always take that profit, let's say the 30,000 rand after 6 months, you can take that money into the upper class market. Like after 3 years you have 180,000 rand profit, you can maybe take 100,000 and invest in upper class markets, like online stock and brokers sitting in other countries and other provinces, because now it's money that you actually can lose because you didn't actually work for it, and it wasn't hard-earned money. Like at least you have 80,000 rand still that you as an investor actually made profit off, and then you use the other 100,000 and you placed it on online investments. So that's basically how you enter the higher the upper class markets. But if you want to take a high risk and you don't want to invest locally, like you can actually decide, okay, now I'm just gonna invest money in brokers sitting in other countries. But for me that's a risk, and that's why I say it's a good thing to actually invest locally first, because what you're doing also, you're developing also your local currency, you investing in people locally, so you're creating jobs locally, and you're basically improving skills also. So you're basically growing your local economy. That's why it's a good thing investing locally, and then taking that money and then later on investing in other international markets and the works. But when you don't have a lot of money, you don't want to take that risk. For me, it's just a high risk, and we want to take low risks before we take big steps. But that's how I see investing, and that's my fundamentals of how I understand investing. If it's locally or if it's internationally, globally, that's how I see how people should go about investing if you're a basic investor. But the most important thing is to never risk more than what you are capable or what you are able of losing.